22nd, 1991, as an 18-year-old college student, my life changed forever. I grew up in church. My father was a minister, and I chose not to live for the Lord. And on June 22nd, I sat in a restroom in my apartment alone and watched 2 lines form on a pregnancy test. My life changed. The moment I realized that I was pregnant, the instant I went and grabbed the yellow pages to look up abortion clinics. Even though my whole life I always knew abortion was wrong. I even did a March for Life my freshman year in high school, so I knew that it was wrong. But it's amazing in a moment of desperation what you'll do. And I was desperate. I thought first and foremost, there is no way I can tell my parents. And so I did. I went to the Yellow Pages, and not only did I make 1 appointment for an abortion, I made 3. Because I figured I knew myself well enough that I was probably going to chicken out at least once. So I wanted to give myself plenty of opportunity to make a terrible decision. And I am so thankful for a wonderful Christian friend. She was my roommate, and they had been down having a picnic, and I stayed home, obviously, because I felt very sick. But she came in, and she looked at my face, and she instantly knew what was wrong. And I told them, don't worry about it, I've already got it taken care of. She's like, what did you do? And I said, no, I cannot tell my parents, there's no way, I'm not ready for this, I'm only 18, I'm a freshman in college, it's the best thing. And then a few other friends came, and I thank God He gave me Christian friends. Because a young man named Pete Weininger got in my face and said, Lisa, you know good and well that if you choose this route, you will never be able to live with yourself. You know this is life. And I knew he was right. I believed him. And so they left, but I did not cancel my appointments. Before they left, we sat down and we prayed, because I was going to call and give my parents the news. Woo! So when I called, I got the answering machine, and I just told my mom and dad to pray before they called me back. And I had a feeling they were not surprised. When they called back, I told them, I said, Mom, Dad, I'm pregnant. And the one person that I thought would react was my mother, and the one I thought would be calm was my dad, and it ended up being completely the opposite. My dad didn't speak to me for 3 very long days. But my mom told me it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Still keeping those appointments until the 3rd day when my daddy, called me and said, honey, I love you, and we're going to get through this together. I got on the phone, and I canceled those 3 appointments, and my parents came and got me. And I'm so thankful for my parents, and I know it was very, very difficult. But they came and they rescued me. They took me to a place in Houston. It was a crisis pregnancy center. And I came there, a very hard young woman. And I said, I don't want anything to do with this baby. I don't want to see this baby. I don't want to hold this baby. I just want to get this over with. So what do I need to do? Adoption was what I had chosen. And I love this sweet woman who was my social worker, still a very active part of my life, was like, that's okay, honey. That'll be fine. But as I grew and began to feel this life inside of me, I started to fall in love. And I lost everything at that moment in my life what I thought was important. Baby's father left. My friends, non-Christian friends, which were most of them, disowned me because in 1991 it was not as common. My parents felt it was necessary to keep it a secret, so I didn't live at home. I lived with some very unfamiliar in-laws, but that's okay. I continued to go to college and continued to grow and continued to go to group counseling at this adoption center, but I fell in love. I fell in love with this life inside of me. And I would sing to this little baby, and then I found out that it was a little girl, and that made it even more special. And that song that you just heard, Masterpiece, is very precious to me, because back before CD players, that came out on cassette, and I heard it on the radio, and I thought, oh my goodness, my daughter needs to know that she's a masterpiece, a new creation that He has formed. And so, my very big belly, I would put headphones around and play that song for her every night before I went to bed. So that song is incredibly special because I'm so proud of her. So at 6 months pregnancy, my mom finally felt led to tell the church she was afraid my dad was going to lose his job. But we had a praise and worship service, and my mother went down and just told everyone what had been happening over the last 6 months, and the church embraced them. So I got to come home, and unfortunately, I was shunned. And they loved my parents, and they rallied around my parents, but they looked at me with disgrace. And that was very, very hard. But my mother reminded me, honey, your sin is just out where someone can see it. It is no different than anyone else. And that got me through such wonderful words of wisdom. So, as I contemplated what I was going to do, because I was falling in love and thought there's no way that I can live my life without this baby girl, I thought, I contemplated, just went back and forth, what am I going to do? And then I got to choose the adoptive family, and they were amazing. And I got excited about the fact that they had wanted a child for 13 years, and that I might be able to be the one to give them that gift. And that made me extremely excited, but still a part of me at night would cry because I knew I was going to have to let her go. And this is the reason why I chose adoption. Who was I to deprive her of a mother and father who loved her like mine did? I would have been a single mom, and I would have struggled, and she would have struggled with me, and I just decided I did not want my little girl to ever struggle. So, when she was born, on February 2nd of 1992, it was the most wonderful day of my life. My life was changed forever.